Sometimes you find a game that you connect to in a very special way. Its story could be grand and intricate, filled with twists and turns, with a cast of lovable characters. Sometimes it's because of a game's stellar gameplay, maybe from the satisfaction of collecting every last collectible or the joy of leveling up and getting better. The reason you connect with the game could also be the memories you associate with the game, the hours of fun you've had with friends, the discussions and thought pieces you've created about something. Sometimes the game just ticks every box in a way no other game could. I love summer, it's my favorite season by a landslide. I mean, fall is nice, but winter and spring are miserable in Maine. In summer it's hot outside, so I can actually go out in a t-shirt. There's also lots of places that are much better to go in the summer than the winter. Walks and hikes, small towns, fairs, and lakes are much cozier in the summer, especially since green and blue are everywhere. My favorite place to go in the summer is bar none the beach. Of course, going places requires a car, which I don't have one, and even if I did, I wouldn't be able to drive it. I've also only seemed to live in rural and isolated areas my whole life, so going outside isn't exactly captivating to me. So whether I like it or not, the majority of summer is spent lying on my bed in my air-conditioned room. Not exactly ideal. Just when all hope seems lost, however, one of my favorite games of all time comes along. Super Mario Sunshine is an immensely special game to me. I've been playing it since a very young age. The gameplay is very fun and enjoyable to master, it has some of my favorite levels and locations in any game ever, and it is so detailed to the point where people have made entire series going over every small little thing this game offers. Many of my other favorite Mario games, like Odyssey and Thousand Year Door, take a lot of concepts from Sunshine, and even future 3D platformers would take inspiration from this game. In this video, I hope to go over why I love Sunshine, but just as a fair warning, this is not a review, mostly because I don't care about any of this game's flaws. Are the bosses god-awful? I don't know, they're fine, I barely even think about them. Could the blue coins have been handled better? I guess, but at this point I have them memorized, so if I'm ever lost, I just pull up a guide. Is Corona Mountain the worst final level in any Mario game? I struggled with it as a kid, but it's not really too bad for me anymore, which I still can't say about the final Bowser fight in 64. Is this game rushed and buggy? Yeah, but that just adds an extra layer of charm and intrigue for me. All of this is to say that no amount of nitpicking or critiquing will ever make this not one of my favorite games. This video will be overwhelmingly positive and I will not be holding back. With that being said, this is why I love Super Mario Sunshine. Atmosphere is probably what differentiates Sunshine the most from every other 3D Mario to date. While 64 goes for the impressiveness and scope of 3D, Galaxy goes for the atmosphere and epicness of space, and Odyssey goes for an adventurous road trip, Sunshine is a vacation gone wrong, set in a tropical paradise that's in peril. The residents are cold and snarky, blaming you for all of their issues, despite it being very clearly not your fault. Every area is infested with goop, poison, and invasive species, turning these once gorgeous locations into shells of their former selves. Even the bustling hub Delfino Plaza is drenched in darkness and gloom. Only through Mario's perseverance and just a sprinkle of forced labor can these places be restored to their former beauty. It seems every single minor character has their own arc. There's the two Piantas in Delfino Plaza who argue about everything from who's related to the founder of the plaza to their tree sizes, if you know you know. There's the small Pianta in Rico Harbor who wants to grow up to be able to toss people like his brother and gradually becomes better at it as you progress in Rico Harbor's story. There's the Pianta who gets stuck on an island and wishes to go to shore, but when he finally does due to the flood, he gets Stockholm Syndrome from the island and wishes to return to it. There's the singing dancers on Sirena Beach who can't stop dancing until everyone goes inside for the night. There's the police officer in Gelato Beach who hates your guts at first but eventually learns to lighten up. There's the Noki elder and his grandson who turns out to have a wife and kid. There's the Doot Doot sisters that tour the island, the cowardly hotel manager who forces you to fix the hotel's problems, the Sunflower mom and her kids, the Chucksters. All of these characters come together to make Delfino Plaza one of the most realized and lived-in worlds in any game I've ever played. Even small things that don't matter are answered. We know that Piantas are omnivores who eat both fruit and seafood. We know that Nokis have houses in Noki Bay where they live. There's an entire hidden language that is oddly consistent whenever it's used. That's the type of stuff you get in Zelda, not a 3D Mario. Another thing to help the interconnectivity is one of Sunshine's most praised attributes. You can see levels from other levels. That is something not even TTYD does right. Every area in that game feels very feasible, but disconnected from Rogueport and everywhere else. Everything works perfectly in Sunshine, down to the most tiny, insignificant detail. Every level has interesting lore and backstory, and as you fix the issues plaguing each level, a unique story unfolds. It's pure brilliance. The music also helps a lot with the atmosphere. Sunshine has my favorite OST of any 3D Mario game, and the songs do so well to fit with each area. Bianco Hills and Gelato Beach are relaxing and ask you to step back and soak it all in. Rico Harbor and Pianta Village are exciting and bouncy, and Pinna Park and Delfino Plaza just scream home. Even tracks like Delfino Airstrip and Corona Mountain are a lot more ominous and work perfectly as the beginning and end songs to this game. Two of the most nostalgic songs in the game for me, however, are the flute rendition of the Mario theme that plays when you get near the spinning clam ride, and the ukulele song that plays in Pianta Village when you get to the central area the Piantas are celebrating at. Of course, the atmosphere isn't perfect. There are flaws. You can't see Noki Bay on most maps because of how late it was added. You never get to see the rainfall that floods Delfino Plaza. Most areas are weird in the sense that I don't really understand how one gets to those places in Universe without swimming or boating. For Pinna Park and Delfino Airstrip, it's made clear the residents would take a boat there, but how would they get to Sirena Beach, Noki Bay, Rico Harbor, Gelato Beach, or even Delfino Plaza? Also by boat? It makes even less sense for areas like Bianca Hills and Pianta Village that seemingly have no natural entrances. Maybe having a gated off path to these areas would have helped explain it. They were actually going to include a train you'd ride to levels, but it was unfortunately cut. All of the issues I laid out are just nitpicks though, and I understand any issues that aren't the fault of the rushed development cycle are just things that the developers didn't need to consider. The most important part of the atmosphere to me is the theme. I love games with tropical themes. Some of my very first and most favorite games either have tropical levels or are tropical themed. I have a strong connection to beaches. I've loved going to them ever since I was very little, and they're just so special to me. The soft sand, the waves, the blue sky and ocean meeting, the smell, the seashells, even beach and sea themes and media resonate with me. The majority of Sunshine is of course beach themed. So many areas in Sunshine I can compare to the best parts of my childhood. My real life Bianco Hills equivalent is a pond I used to go swimming out a lot when I was younger that actually had an island I would ride a kayak to. My Rico Harbor equivalent is the local harbor town I live near, complete with boats and piers. Gelato Beach is similar to beaches I go to every summer. Pinna Park reminds me of amusement and water parks I would wait all summer to go to. Noki Bay reminds me of more rocky beaches I've gone to. Pianta Village reminds me of fireworks shows and bonfires, etc. One of the most recent connections I formed was a hotel I went to. It almost eerily reminded me of Hotel Delfino, despite it not being tropical themed. I wish I could have run around and explored every nook and cranny, but even if that was allowed, social anxiety wouldn't have let me. For the better, of course. All of this is to say that Sunshine makes me love the world more. It makes me long to go outside and walk along a beach, learn more about people in the world I live in. And going places during the summer makes me long to play Sunshine. This game also makes winter more bearable, giving me a sunny island getaway during the coldest and longest part of the year. And no other game, other than maybe the Xenoblade games, can really compare to that feeling of escapism.
Alright, so as you guys might know, I kinda like Xenoblade. I mean, it's okay. It's good. It's a pretty good series. I feel some emotions about the games, I guess you could say. And as a fan, I see merch all the time that I wish I could get. And actually, someone very kindly offered to send me some merch that they themselves made. These are Xenoblade trading cards. So the first card we have here is one of Noah, and as you can see, it is very high quality. If you look on the back, here's the logo. And yeah, this is just a really good looking card. It has like a very good feel to it. It has a very nice weight and it is stunningly pretty. The second one here is one of Mio. What you can see on the card is you get what type of role they play in the story, you get their name, and then you get what game they're from, and then you get the rarity, as well as you get a little quote and the amazing, beautiful picture of the character. Actually, I was sent 2 additional mystery cards as well, those being one of Pyra, who is, you know, my favorite Xenoblade character. It even says the game they're from and has a completely different design for the UI, depending on what game they're from. And of course, there's the great quote. And then here's another variant of that card with the same quote, but with a very different screenshot. These are very, very high quality. I absolutely love these, and yeah, they're very cool. I'll link the store where you can buy these cards for a very good price, might I add. And I just want to say, yeah, thank you for sending me these again. They're really great. All right, back to the video.
Mario's movement is a constantly changing phenomenon in this series. In 64, Mario had a great moveset full of just the right amount of traversal options to get around. Unfortunately, some moves like long jumps and dives could be finicky, and the controls were awful. Mario does this really weird semicircle turn if you try to go in the opposite direction he's facing after a jump. And the games like Galaxy and 3D World restrict your movement, finally tuning them to deal with the level design, but taking away a lot of the fun of mastering Mario's movement. Odyssey says screw it and decides to have the best movement and controls of the whole series. Just running around in Odyssey is extremely extremely fun, and the vast amount of options you have for traversal makes mastering the movement a gratifying process. Now, after saying all of that, you may be wondering if Odyssey's so good, then how does Sunshine differentiate itself from every other 3D Mario game? The answer is simple: speed. Mario moves around like he's on caffeine in this game. He's constantly dashing and zipping around. His spin jump gives him crazy distance, and using a combination of triple jumps and the hover nozzle can get you to unparalleled heights. His belly slide gives him immense momentum if you slip on a slippery surface, which, by the way, you can create whenever you'd like at practically any time. There is so much advanced tech, like hover slides and kinney kicks. Yoshi and all the different nozzles enhance Mario's options of traversal in such great ways. They're very enjoyable to tinker and mess around with. Mario feels very good to move. I love to spin the stick around for the ultra satisfying spin jump. It feels so perfect with the GameCube controller. There's also just spraying in general, which using it to clean goop and graffiti and fight off enemies is just so perfect. There's just a gut feeling of satisfaction to clean with FLUDD. They also made wall jumps a lot easier in this game, which only makes traversing more boxed areas like Delfino Plaza more fun. While many people would lament the removal of the long jump, I don't see how having it would benefit the game. It wouldn't fit with Mario's moveset since FLUDD, or Flash Liquidizing Ultra Dowsing Device, already gives a boost in air and ground movement. I think Cappy is better for movement, but he's not as fast or reliable as FLUDD, and I prefer FLUDD's design and concept overall, despite how cool Cappy is. I mean, you get a Super Soaker backpack that can turn into a jetpack in a Mario game. That's as cool as it gets. Something that enhances the movement is the nozzles. The hover nozzle in particular is such a good idea. It in itself takes skill to use. Say you accidentally miss a jump, then you have to react quick enough to hover and try and direct yourself back to the platform before your hover runs out. I personally love this idea as it adds an entire extra level of depth to what's essentially a safety net. Plus, using the hover to traverse is just a really fun thing to do, since it lets you cover a big amount of vertical distance and just enough horizontal distance for it to not be overpowered. I especially love the sound effects that play when you use FLUDD. They're really nostalgic to me. The other nozzles also offer a lot. The rocket nozzle I have a lot less to say about, but I think it's really fun. It's less reliable than the hover, but it propels you up much higher, letting you neom up. One of my favorite glitches in this game is rocket storage. It lets you go so high up that you can see how the developers constructed the scenery around you, which is just so cool. God, I love this game. The other nozzle available is the turbo nozzle, and while it's a lot more situational, I think it's really fun to use it when you can. My favorite secret area in the game is the one where you dash forwards with the turbo nozzle. It feels like I'm Sonic the Hedgehog. Along with being fast, Mario is very stylish in what he does. Trick jumps are abundant, and the speedrun for this game is insane. When I say that I can see myself speedrunning this game in the future, that should mean a lot, because I am not a speedrunner. There's also a lot of satisfying movement tech that new players can learn, such as spin jumping into a triple jump and spam spray, which cleans up goop really fast. This is my favorite kit Mario has in any of his games, as it complements the level design so well while keeping the feeling of speed and the summer spirit. It isn't perfect, however. I can admit that Mario goes a tiny bit too fast for some of the platforming and the secret levels, but once you get over the difficulty spike, I think those levels are really fun and complement Mario's abilities well. Mario can also be a tiny bit sensitive, but personally, I actually quite like the joltiness. Mario has great momentum, so it doesn't bother me. Honestly, I could just run around in Sunshine for hours. The movement scratches an itch not many other 3D platformers can scratch. I have hours just hopping around levels in my 100% save files, just messing around with Mario. However, the movement itself reaches the peaks it does for me because of one of Sunshine's other strongest attributes, the Now, I know you're expecting me to go over the other 3D Mario games again here, but I think I'm just gonna cut to the chase. Sunshine is more open and explorative than 64 and Odyssey, and features more exploration than platforming for levels. Each level tries to portray a real-life area in the world of Mario. They all have drastically different obstacles that come with their designs. In Bianco Hills, you need to be wary as you traverse not to get caught in goop or icky water. In Rico Harbor, you have to climb up challenging girders and hop from boat to boat. In Gelato Beach, you can slide across the mostly flat beach, but you have to watch out for cataquacks and other obstacles. I could go on. Because of the dramatically different designs of each level, they all feel distinct gameplay-wise. No two levels are traversed the same way, and I of course love this. Each level has you platform to explore more as well, and it just works perfectly with the movement. These are genuinely my favorite levels of any 3D Mario, hands down. What's more is each environment seamlessly weaves together realistic structures with platforming. These buildings off to the side in Bianco Hills, they're not only houses that Piantas live in, but they're also platforming challenges that give an interesting way of exploring, and really shine in the red coin mission and while getting blue coins. Spraying things in the environment like windmills, cranks, or pots will move them, adding to the feeling of realism. I love how tightropes specifically are used. They're weaved in seamlessly and have a tangible explanation for why they're there. The movement always fits the level design too. Having Mario zip around, using his jumps and FLUDD to get around levels, is always fun. I especially love how walls are used. Wall jumps are really fun to jump off of and give you a big momentum boost, so in areas like Delfino Plaza, you can chain wall jumps off of walls and use the speed to chain more jumps after getting on top of buildings. This can be done in basically any area with walls, meaning the levels let you scale structures in really interesting ways. In Sunshine, there are two types of shines, linear shines and open shines. Linear shines have a set challenge put before them and make up the majority of shines. Open shines have a suggested path but have many distinct routes to them. Both of these types of shines take advantage of the amazing level design to give an interesting challenge that becomes more interesting the more comfortable you get with Mario's movement. Linear shines typically have one set way of getting to them. Some examples would be boss fights, shines with a linear path, and secret levels. The speed you get these shines is determined purely by your skill and familiarity with the level design. These are a lot more obstacle course based, with the openness of levels serving more as a delusion from the path in case you want to search for blue coins or just explore while working towards your goal. Usually following the linear path will bring you to a challenge in which Mario's movement is put to the test. This may lead you to ask, why make me run to these goals? There's very little risk of dying in the overworld, and it takes up a lot of time. This has led people to hate the boot out system for making them retread ground they've already walked. My answer to that is the difficulty curve. As you run back to these goals, you're most likely going to be doing a lot more advanced tech as you familiarize yourself with Mario's controls. More spin jumps, triple jumps, slides, etc. This is all in service of getting to the challenge quicker, meaning that as you are running back to your goal, you're getting better at controlling Mario and traversing mini platforming sections, meaning the developers can put more demanding challenges in the player's way once they reach those goals. Take the infamous secret shines where FLUDD is taken away and the player is forced to use all their skills to overcome extremely challenging pure obstacle courses. The obstacle courses and challenges themselves are almost always well designed, usually held back by bugs of all things. They take full advantage of Mario's movement, which you practice in the lead up to these areas. I will admit a few of these secret areas are total ass, but the rest are spectacular because of the emphasis on Mario's great movement. What's even more is that the special areas give you FLUDD when you return to them, but also have a new challenge, a red coin mission. You're tasked to do even trickier platforming to grab 8 red coins under a strict time limit. This is taking even the knowledge you gained from the obstacle course and putting it to the test. It is such a cool and well executed idea, and I'm shocked nobody has ever brought this up, but I guess it goes to show that Sunshine's brilliance is subtle and seamless to the point where not even some respectable critics can pick up on it. The second type of shine Sunshine has is open shines. The red coin missions speak for themselves in how the player creates pathing to get to each coin, but other shines have a lot of options. Everyone always brings up the Goopy Inferno, and I agree it's probably the best shine in the game, but to be original, let's look at another shine, the Cage Shine Sprite. In the Cage Shine Sprite, you have tons of options to get to the top. You can start by going right to the boat with the moving crane, then you can hop past the suspended girder onto this climbable chain wall. Then past that wall is another moving crane that leads you to a fenced chain wall you can stand on. Or alternatively, if you either fall or decide to go left to the little town, you can jump off this chain floor and onto some girders, skipping everything I already mentioned. From there you have multiple paths to climb up, all packed to the gills with bloopers in these wind guys. Mario's jumps can skip a lot of sections, but only if you use them skillfully. Past that is another path I took that has another moving crane, followed by multiple chain walls you have to climb on. Only if you wish, however, as there's another path to the left that leads up to a blue coin. Up past the walls is more platforming that leads to the end stretch, as well as a rocket nozzle. You can unlock the rocket nozzle throughout the level if you pick this one up, but you lose your hover nozzle, making it a tough choice whether to grab it. Then past that are some tricky trampoline jumps and girder walks filled with these wind guys that eventually leads to the shine. Or, alternatively, you can grab the rocket nozzle, fall down, and get the shine through the secret entrance at the bottom of the cage. This is sandbox level design at its finest, and the Cage Shine Sprite is one of my favorites in the game. While shines like this are the peak of the game, there are other brilliant shines that take advantage of both the linearity and openness. Take the Hotel Secret for example. It starts off completely open, letting you explore around the hotel for a way into the pool. As you explore, you find a linear path through the hotel that leads to a fruit for Yoshi. After getting the fruit, you're allowed to explore around more until you find what Yoshi can be used for and go through a maze that leads to the shine. Each advancement you get is essentially a key. The pineapple is the key to unlock Yoshi, and Yoshi is the key to unlock the vents. This leads you to the shine. It's a really satisfying series of events, the best in any Mario game by far. What's more is it's all completely skippable if you do a somewhat tricky clip with a banana. Though it's unintentional, it adds an entire new route to this mission. This game rules! Something else this game is very smart about is the order you collect the shines. Each shine has to be gotten in a linear order, and I personally really like this system. It helps the world grow and develop as you get more shines, and gives a clear goal. Now, do I agree with all the decisions made with shines? No, definitely not. I don't see why some secret areas and red coin missions are mandatory to continue the story. I feel like those would be fine to get out of order. I also think having to fight Shadow Mario in every level in order to unlock Corona Mountain is stupid bullshit, and it should 100% be dependent on how many shines you've collected. But I'm fine with getting the major story shines in a specific order. In 64 and Odyssey, some stars and moons could just kind of feel there. Like they just exist and are collected. Each shine and sunshine takes a lot of work to get to, so each one feels more valuable. It's like a half step between 64 and Galaxy's approach. Now, this isn't to criticize the approach 64 and Odyssey take. I think having the main collectible hidden in every nook and cranny encourages exploration, which is why I actually really like the moons. The approach Sunshine takes is the most ideal to me though, at least for this type of game. Instead of getting moons or stars for exploring, you get blue coins. Blue coins are technically worthless unless you're going for 100%, but as someone who 100%s this game every time, I adore them. They're usually hidden behind M graffiti, which is just really fun to spot and clean. They hide some of these M's in really interesting places. You also get blue coins from interacting with the world and spraying everything. Some blue coins are tucked away in corners or hidden in challenging places, rewarding going off the beaten path and exploring and platforming around. Some blue coins have fun challenges where you need to race to get them under a strict time limit. I will admit a few of the blue coins are definitely a little too well hidden, and I genuinely think if they added a counter on the shine selection screen to show you how many you've gotten in an episode and maybe gave you an optional scanner or something that would ding when you get close to one, they'd be a much more beloved mechanic. But as they are now, they're an amazing mechanic to me. Collecting them is super fun. I love the sound effects for when you spray away graffiti and grab one, and they encourage exploring around the levels and interacting with everything. I guess the last thing to bring up is Delfino Plaza, another one of the most universally praised parts of Sunshine. This is my favorite hub world in any game ever, and I have hours of messing around in here. It's designed in such a way that all of Mario's movement can be used effectively in different areas, along with the plaza being packed with secrets and shines. Some areas are covered in graffiti that you can only reach once you get the rocket nozzle, such as bells in the Shine Tower. Once you clean those up, they remain clean for the rest of the game, giving you a visual representation of your progress. I think that in itself sums up Sunshine's progression perfectly. Super Mario Sunshine is one of my favorite games ever made. To me, it's up there with the likes of Banjo-Kazooie, A Hat in Time, and Super Mario Odyssey as far as 3D platformers go. Actually, in story and setting, I think Sunshine far outdoes those games, as well as pretty much every other 3D platformer. I hope I managed to convey even a slimmer of why I love Sunshine so much. This game has been an important part of my life for a long time, and I've wanted to make a video talking about it for a long time now. But alas, if you simply cannot fathom why I love Sunshine, even after listening to me explain why it clicks with me so hard, then that's okay. I would personally recommend giving the game a second chance sometime if past playthroughs didn't do it for you, but it's totally up to you. For me, Sunshine is an important game that I could never replace. I for sure will be returning to Isle Delfino many times to come.